Okay, so in our last class we have discussed about the cash and bank management module. Okay, so I will, as I promise you, I will share that particular one more session on the advanced reconciliation. For that, I need to create some sample data, but I didn't get any time yesterday, so I didn't prepare that one. So once I have prepared, I will definitely demonstrate that advanced bank reconciliation with that particular sample data. Okay. For time being, let us move to the next module, that is expense management. This is very small module. Okay. It's very easy concept and you can easily understand. This is related to some part of HR and some part of expense submission by the employee to the respective HR. Okay, how we can claim our expenses. Okay, so we have a separate module called expense management. So under modules, if you see, we have expense management. Okay, so at here they are very small setup is there. Okay, let us see what are the setup. So you can see under setup we have shared category. So we will go over here, shared category, and at here by clicking on new we will select the category ID or category name we will define. Okay, and the category name. Okay, like for example at here I am defining the category ID as labor charges. Okay, now if I want to utilize this particular category, where exactly I want to use, I can use in project, I can use in production, I can use in expenses. So currently we are utilizing the expenses, so I will check this particular toggle as yes. Okay, so once I have checked this particular toggle as yes, now at here I need to select the expense type. So what kind of expense type it is, you can see we have predefined expense type over here. Okay, so at here we need to select the respective expense type. Like for example I'm selecting miscellaneous. Okay, so after that I will click on save. Okay, so this is the first setup where we will do our expense type of expense category need to be creation. Okay, like so for example now we have created the labor charges. Similarly we have so many other categories, like you can see if I click on administration, this is for the project. Okay, so you can see application expenses, this is one of the expense type. Also you can see miscellaneous, admission fee, this is for project. uh, let's see some more expenses fee. Like for example flight is my one of the expenses. Okay, so you can see this is the airlines expense type, and you can see airlines total airline tax which is excluded. Okay, so like that we will define our shade category. So once you have defined this particular shade category, next we will go to the under setup, we have expense category under the same form. Okay, so we will go to the expense categories over here. Okay, we will click on new and we will select our respective category, that is as I have created the labor charges, I mean, so let me select, so I will select the labor charges over here. So once we have selected the respective labor charges under expenses, so we need to define the default payment method. So what kind of default payment method, so at here I'm selecting as cash worker. Okay, I need to select the respective main account. Like for example Here I'm selecting the miscellaneous expenses is the expense type. Okay, so after defining that, we'll click on save. Okay, the record will be saved. So at here we have defined allowed payment method as cash and card, right? So currently we have enabled as cash. Okay, so if you go to the same expense management, okay, under expense management, so you can see the calculation code. uh, so where so sorry, you can see we have a payment methods. So in this particular payment method we will define, like for example, if it is a cash, so what is my offset account. So at here I can provide my offset account. So currently it is with worker as account type, right? Even I can specify my ledger account. So currently for cash account, so I am selecting the ledger and I am defining the cash account ledger as. So here I am selecting vendor. So what I will do, I will prepare one vendor as PPT. Okay, let me quickly create one vendor. Okay, so at here I am creating vendor has petty cash. Okay, so the reason why I am creating this particular vendor as petty cash, so any small expenses which will be handled by a cashier who's having some temporary allotment of amount. So based on that particular temporary allotment of amount, he will manage those expenses. Okay, so that is the term of pt cache. Okay, so at here I am clicking on new and let me create one vendor. So at here let me add the vendor account. So I have named as pt cache as the vendor and I am giving the vendor type as service vendor and I have saved this particular record. Okay, now let me map the same vendor in my cash payment method. So let me select the offset account, petty cache. Okay, let me save the record. Okay, so even if you want to provide the cash account number, you can provide the cash account number. So currently the cash account is not available, which I need to recreate. So currently I am selecting a vendor as petty cash vendor. So all the expenses can be tracked and even we can print out the statement from the vendor account statement. Okay, now after saving this particular record, now we have defined there are total three different configuration. One is the shared account category, expense category, and payment method. So once these three has been defined, then our expense management we can start our work transactions. Okay, for that we will go to the expense management, my expenses, and we will click on expense report. Okay, so at here we will click on new expense report and at here, so this is one of the master. So you can see if I click on purpose, so this is one of the master where it will ask you for what purpose we are taking these particular expenses. Okay, like for example, I will show you that particular master. uh, you can see under expense management official set okay optional setup, we have purpose of expense report. Okay, so if you click on this particular purpose of expense report, you can see there is an optional configuration. Okay, so we can use it or we can ignore it. Okay, similarly we have locations. You can see the travel locations. So in travel locations you can see we have main office and subsidiary office. Okay, and these two optional will be applicable in our expense report. Like for example, if I go back to the expense management expense report. Okay, so if I click on new, now you can see it was asking me the purpose type. Like for example, my purpose type, if it is an exam, if it is a training or team offsite. Okay, and I need to select the respective location. Either it may be a main office or it is a subsidiary office. So we will select any one. Okay, and after that there is the map to travel requisition. There is another optional. So currently we don't have any master. So if we provide that, it will be applicable. Okay, and we can have the financial dimension. So if you want to map the financial dimension, so we will map over here. So currently you can see we have mapped the department. If you want to map the cost center, yes, you can map the cost center also. Okay, so once you have selected the respective cost center and I mean, once you have updated the financial dimension, you will click on OK. Now at here, so once you have clicked on OK, now we have two heads. One is the expense report header, another one is the expense. Okay, so at here now I have the expense category, which is my mandatory field. Another field is the transactions. So there is the transaction amount. So there is another mandatory field. Now at here, let me select the expense category. Like for example, in this particular drop down list, so you can see these all are the expense which we have created as expense category. You can imagine, you can see these labor charges which we have created now. Okay, so let us select the labor charges, and you can give the merchant ID as uh, you can give any merchant ID, otherwise you can leave it as blank, it's an optional. Okay, so currently I'm selected some margin travel. Okay, I need to provide the transaction amount. Like for example, the transaction amount is 1400 USD. Okay, so after updating that, so if you have any project, so you can select the project ID, that is an optional. And after that you have one, let me save this particular record. Yeah, so after that you can see we have some billable or non-billable and activity number. So these are three columns will be depends on the respective transaction type. Like for example, if we are selecting different category, these options may be enabled, and that is also completely configurable. Like for example, if I add another line, and at here I'm selecting uh, fuel. Okay, now you can see at here, after selecting the fuel, you can see I have an option, what is my project type. Okay, what is my whether it is billable or non-billable. Okay, so if you select the project ID, based on that the activity number will be populated. Okay, now in this particular fuel expense category, okay, so you can see at here You can see this is the fuel expense category and it is mapped over here as fuel expenses, and you can see this is the project expense category. Okay, this is a project expense category group they have selected as project expense category. So if you see our labor charges, so we have selected the only expenses. We doesn't have the project category for this particular respective thing. So that was the reason we are not able to select whether it is mandatory or not. Okay. Similarly, for hotel booking, this is one of the expense type, and you can see we have different subcategories also available. Okay. Now let me go back to the transaction. That is the expense report again. Expense management, expense report. So the draft one which I have created. Okay. So at here let me select any this one, billable or non-billable for the fuel. Is it billable? And you can see at here I have a four different checkbox. One is the attachment required, another one is receipt required, itemization required, and itemization receipt required. Sorry, itemization complete required. So at here we have a labor charges. For labor charges, we will select the receipt as required. Okay. So these particular things will be enabled. You can see after attaching it. So you can see add unattached expenses. So at here you will click on select it and you will click on OK if we have any other additional attachments. Okay, and another way you can see we have at here a dot I mean attachment pin. So we'll click on this particular attachment pin and we will upload, like we'll click on browse. Okay, so at here I'm selecting one of the file. Okay, and at here we'll give the name as uh, fuel upload. Okay, so after clicking on upload you click on cancel. So this is the file. Okay, similarly you can add a number of attachments of this particular receipts. Okay, for viewing, and you can see this attachment has been receipt attachment has been done, and similarly for other line you can do it. Okay, so once you have done this particular line level, so we will click on submit button. So once you have clicked on submit, and it will trigger to the workflow for the approval. Okay, so at here I am submitting. So once it will be triggered to the workflow, so initially it will be go for the HR approval, then it will come to the finance approval for the uh, okay. So once it will go for the HR approval, once HR is done, then it will come for the finance. Finance will approve it, then it can be reimbursement. So currently you can see we are receiving one error message stating that the cost center 09 is not utilized. Okay, so because of that it's giving that particular error message. So what we will do, we will go to distribute amount. Okay, So at here in this particular drop down, let me remove 009 from the cost center. Okay, after removing it, save it. Now you can see I don't have 009 as cost center. Now let me go to the second another line, distribute amount, and at here also let me remove the cost center. Okay, so this particular error is stating the same thing. You can see the cost center is not allowed for the value combination of the financial dimension that are validated. Okay, for 002 the business these all are same, no issues with that, but with the cost center 009 only it's having the issue. So we because of the in the accounting structure they have defined that 009 is not the valid dimension for the this particular expense account. Okay, now let me submit to the workflow. So you can see the workflow status is in review, and you can track this particular workflow history from here. Workflow history. So let's see to whom it has been submitted for the approval. You can see over here currently it is not triggering to the workflow. I mean the respective workflow, it is not flowing to the work item. So you can see under the batch job. So the navigation of this particular path is very simple. You will navigate to the system admin. Under system admin, under inquiries, you will have the batch job. So after opening this particular form, you will filter with the uh, so after going to that particular form, we will filter with the job description as workflow as contained. Okay, you will appear 4 jobs over here. So you can see the status is with hold. So these 4 job status, you will go to the change status, and you will select waiting, and you will click on OK. So once you clicked on waiting, so the job will start executing it, and it will trigger to the respective person for the approval. You can see it started for the approval, and it has been assigned to some of the one of the person. Okay, so it was assigned to me for the approval, and you can see, so I can go back to this particular expense report, and I can review the details, and I can review the attachment, and based on that I can approve this particular request. So once I have approved this particular expenses, let me approve. So let us complete this particular workflow. Now the workflow has been completed. So let me refresh this particular page. Okay, the workflow status is approved. Okay, and even once the workflow status is approved, we can print the expense report. Let me show you that. Okay, now you can see if you want to print the expense report, you can either print it from the after opening the respective expense report, and you can see there is a print, and you can see expense report. Let's the report generate. Okay, now you can see this is the expense report, and you can see it has been approved, and you can see the expense type and what is the amount and what is the payment method, you can see in detail. Okay, let me go a step back. Okay, let me go another step back. So this is the process of expense report. Okay, so at here you can see if you now at here we have the expense report, right? So we will go to the process expense report, and at here you can see the approved expense report. So at here, so we have approved this particular 33, and we will click on post. So once you have clicked on post, so what will happen? Your accounting impact will be done. So your expense category account will be debit. Sorry. So your expense category account will be debit, and the respective offset account, either we have selected at here as petty cash account. Okay, the petty cash account will be credited, or if you have any other bank or cash account which you have defined, so that account will be credited. Okay, now you can see 33 has been posted. Now you can see over here we have a different my expenses. So either you can classify the expense based on the different types. One is the uh, unmatched expenses, matched expenses, unattached expenses. So these are the segregation forms, and based on that you can easily know what are the expenses have created, and for filtration purpose, like for example unattached receipt. So if you have any expense which doesn't have any receipts has attachment, so it will be populated over here. Okay, similarly other type of thing, like for example if you have any travel requisition, so it will be appear those travel requisition expenses. Okay, so these all are filtration purpose over here which is given. And we have a process expense report. So at here you will have all expense report, so it will display all the expenses which is created and which is approved and which is processed payment. Okay, other than that you have approved expense report. So this is another filtration. So once you have opened this particular in this form will shows the all the approved expense report. Okay, and similarly you have expenses in review which has been submitted to the workflow, currently it is in review, so you can track that one. And similarly expense report assigned to you or in my queue, assigned to me is nothing but which you have created, that is will be shown over here. And report assigned to me by queue, it will be shown in this particular report. It's not a report, it's an inquiry form. And similarly you have for the cash advance, so this is also the same. So you will have any approved cash advance, it will be shown over here. Any approved cash advance, paid cash advance or cash advances, so it will be shown over here. So similarly for the tax recovery, so it will be shown over here. Okay, so the three tabs, I mean my expenses, expense report, and cash advance, tax recovery. So if you see these, all the four activities are same, but it segregation only. Okay, there is no much difference over there. And one more thing, like for example now it has been approved, actually there is a change in that particular uh, there is a change in that particular expense type. So by default, by mistake, the manager approves it, and he forgetted that, and he was suggesting some changes. So we can also make the particular changes. For that, we have to go to the periodic task. So at here, yeah. So at here you can see reset the expense document status. So we'll go to the reset expense document status. Okay. Now you can see I have, these are the status which is available. Okay, like for example 25, for this particular 25, from approved status I will update to draft. So once I have update to draft, so whatever he has been submitted for the workflow for the approval, so now it will be changed to draft. Okay, now you can see it has been removed. Now if I go to the all expense report, if I refresh this particular page, that is related to other persons. Let me change another document status currently which is in review. Let me change this one to draft. Okay, so the document status has been updated to draft. My expense report, you can see the status has been changed to draft. Okay, so I can resubmit to the workflow and it can be approved. Okay, so if you have one line, so it will show as single invoice. So if you have multiple lines, I mean multiple different categories, so it will show as multiple over here. Okay, now if I go to this particular expense category which is posted, okay, so if I click on payment, so it is not yet started, so it's fuel. You can see this is the invoice ID and this is the date. Okay, and similarly if you select this one and if you click on payment, so it will show the same thing, invoice ID and payment. And one more thing, if I go to the print expense report with coverage page, so there is another view of printing the expense report and the view will also change. So there is another view. And another thing, we have distribution. Okay, so this is the distribution amount. So you can see, so this is my expense account. So this is my expense account. So at here you can see there is no respective vendor account has been populated. Okay, so we can customize and we can bring the respective vendor information also in that particular uh, report. Now if I go to the vendor account, like for example, now if I go to the accounts payable, vendor, all vendor. Okay, so we have created one of the vendor called Petty Cash. Okay, so if I go to the transactions of this particular vendor, okay, you can see there is one transaction with 1400. So we have created the expense type with the category with two records. One is the 1400 and the one is 80 as a fuel. Okay, for fuel there is a different account has been mapped payment method, that is the credit card. For labor charges we have selected the cash payment method and we have mapped the petty cash as the vendor. Now you can see if I open the voucher of this particular petty cash, so you can see my expense account is getting debited and my vendor balance is getting created. You can see there is no ledger transactions are available it means that our subledger batch jobs are not running. Okay, so for that, let me go back to the another page. Let me filter. Okay, batch job is not available. So for that, we will go to the general ledger module. Under general ledger module, we have periodic task. Under periodic task, you can see subledger general entries not transferred. Okay, there are two things are there. One is subledger general entries not transferred, batch transfer for subledger journal. Okay, first we will go to the subledger journal entries not transfer. So at here it will display all the transactions which is not which is posted, but the ledger impact is not done. It will be shown over here. Okay, so at here I am clicking on transfer now, so I am manually pushing those entries to the ledger account by clicking on transfer now. Okay, so either you can add transfer batch from here, or else you can add the transfer batch directly from the batch transfer subledger journals. Okay, from both the options you can add the batch. Okay, so currently I'm adding the batch job directly from here. So currently there is no line is available, so that was the reason I'm not able to create from inside this particular form. Okay, so in that case we will go to the batch transfer for subledger journal, and at here, so we will select the source document has all, and we will select the respective financial year, like for example 2025. Okay, and run in background this particular batch job processing as yes. We'll go to the recurrence. Okay, so currently it is mentioned and after one it is there, so let us remove this particular one, and we will mention as no end date. Okay, you can see at here we have given the recurrence pattern minutes. At here we have count given count as 10, so it means that every 10 minutes this particular every after 10 minutes this particular job will be executed. Okay, similarly for hours, so every 2 hours you can see the count is mentioned as 2, so after every 2 hours this particular job will be executed. Next we have days, so you can see repeat this particular activity in a day or in day once or every day week or every weekdays. So you can select. So at here there will be option on which date basis we can select it. Okay. So similarly for weeks, months and year it has we have options. So currently I am selecting on minutes. Why? Because these are my day-to-day transactions which need to be hitted to my ledger account. So at here I am reducing count to 2 minutes. So for every after 2 minutes this particular job will be executed. So once I have clicked on OK, the recurrence will be set to that, and I will click on OK. Now the batch job has been added to the queue. Okay. Now if I go back this particular transactions, let me refresh. Yeah, now you can see your miscellaneous account has been debited and the vendor balance has been created. Okay, this company CC is the another vendor for the fuel. So if I go to the transaction, you can see we have a fuel transaction of 80 which we have posted with the expense report. You can see the description over here, expense report number 000033. Okay, that is my expense report number. Okay, and if I go to the voucher, I can able to see the same entry where my respective fuel expenses getting debited and my vendor balance is getting credited. Okay, so this is the complete concept of expense report. So if you have any doubt, you can raise it. It's a very small module. Team, do you have uh, any doubts in this particular expense report?
No, sir.
It's a very small topic only, but having very few examples like on your daily basis. So if you want to claim any expenses, how the claim process will be start. Okay, either it may be your beneficial claim or it may be any reimbursement claim. So how this process will be started? So that process will be started from this particular expense management module only. Okay. So after this, I have one more module called fixed asset. So we will sit tomorrow morning with the fresh mind on this particular topic, fixed asset. And after that, in general ledger, I need to showcase year-end close process and adhere the financial report, the financial statement. So these are the topics which is still pending for the demonstration. So once we have demonstrated those topics, then our core financial part training will be completed. Okay. So meanwhile, let me check the additional one more session of this one advanced bank reconciliation. Let me try to demonstrate on this Saturday. I mean coming Saturday. So we will see that one. Okay. Okay, team. Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay, then we'll see you tomorrow, and we will see tomorrow that another new module, that is fixed asset. Okay, so we will see how we can acquire fixed asset in different ways. We will see together. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you.